The season of game reveals, also known as Summer Game Fest, is rapidly approaching, and ahead of this big event in the industry, Resident Evil fans and insiders are counting on Capcom to make some huge announcements as to what we may expect come Resident Evil's 30th anniversary, kicking off next year. There is a lot of hype for Resident Evil, with Resident Evil 9 slated to arrive, and perhaps another remake to punctuate the anniversary. But one highly requested remake has been stealing the show for the last several years. A remake of the 2000 Dreamcast classic, Resident Evil Code Veronica. With next year's anniversary rapidly approaching, and with a few leaks and rumors circulating that Code Veronica is indeed getting a remake, now's as good a time as ever to dive deep into every leak and rumor surrounding this potential remake. So if you're like me and hope to get a Code Veronica remake sometime soon, give Nosferatu a fair introduction by sniping that like button. Treat yourself to some tasty free samples of GamerSupps by using my affiliate link provided in the description. Want to experience a full tub? The code will take 10% off your order as well. Alright, so there is a lot going on with Resident Evil, especially with the rumors and leaks, as quite literally the only confirmed bit of Resident Evil on the horizon is the fact that Zach Kreger of Barbarian fame is directing the next Resident Evil movie to release in September 2026, along with the confirmation that the director of Resident Evil 9 is none other than Koshi Nakanishi, most known for his role in directing Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Now, the last RE game we received was 2023's Resident Evil 4 Remake, and with Capcom later that year stating that more remakes are on the way, a huge leak surfaced in late November 2023 regarding a Code Veronica remake playtest. It was also around this time that Capcom shut down a fan remake of Code Veronica, putting not only a bad taste in the community's mouth, but also potentially suggesting that Capcom themselves were hard at work on a Code Veronica remake. Before we dive into the history of leaks regarding Code Veronica Remake, take all this with a grain of salt, as we literally have no idea if any of this will come to fruition. Alright, this first leak comes from a post on 4chan. Great, off to a wonderful start. From a user from Japan who claims to have been a recent playtester for the opening moments of Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake. The poster has released a decent amount of information pertaining to the opening moments of the game, along with other gameplay features. Starting off, the user claims that this remake will feature the third-person, over-the-shoulder format that we saw from Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 Remake, which means we are looking at this potential remake getting rid of the tank controls and dynamic panning camera angles of the original Code Veronica. The prologue is set to start with Claire Redfield as she recounts the Raccoon City incident, something that sounds quite similar to how Resident Evil 4 Remake's campaign starts with Leon as he recalls those events. In a major deviation from the original game, however, this remake is said to have players control Claire during the original game's opening cutscene, showcasing her attempted escape from the guards at the Umbrella building. Unlike the action-packed cutscene in the original, the opening in the remake would instead initially serve as a slow-paced tutorial where the player controls Claire in search of her older brother, Chris Redfield, going in and out of offices and exploring parts of the building before being spotted by guards, and the ensuing escape, like the original scene, begins. Claire eventually becomes captured and is sent to Rockford Island, where the game begins. The playtester claims that the prison area of Rockford Island is vast, containing many cells and guard rooms where a new character, Ricardo, lets her go. She eventually encounters a military man in a black suit, and while we don't have specifics on whether this is to be a hostile encounter, the man is quickly killed by falling debris from an explosion. This is approximately when the island becomes attacked, and Claire is tasked to escape the prison, but before she does so, she encounters Steve Burnside, a character integral to the plot of Code Veronica, in a prison cell. The two converse, and after pleading with Claire to get him out, Claire hesitantly does so. Together, they escape and enter a safe room where the player now has the option to switch freely from Claire to Steve. The playtester suggests that the player can explore the next areas as any character and that each character has their own set of skills. This honestly makes me think of Resident Evil 0, to be honest, and interestingly enough, Resident Evil 0 is one of the many games rumored to be getting a remake. Getting back to the Code Veronica playtest, Claire is said to be better with knives and her aim is better and faster, while Steve can fire with 2 guns at the same time, while able to run faster, but at the detriment of being unable to mix herbs. Steve can also throw his knife from a distance at enemies. In addition to that, Steve is able to employ stealth, as perhaps this new mechanic, introduced from Resident Evil 4 Remake, could make its way here into this potential Code Veronica remake. He is also said to know some passwords to traverse to new areas. On the other hand, Claire is said to be better with puzzles, as she can inform the player on how to solve them and can occasionally see hidden items. The demo is said to end when the two get to the palace before the playtester comically concludes with, quote, "That is all I want to share," end quote, alluding to perhaps more that they don't want to discuss, or simultaneously bullshit, as again, there is no official evidence that supports a Code Veronica remake is in development. But man, wouldn't that be great? Considering this is real, hypothetically, I have to say that I really do like the idea of having the initial scene be playable with Claire in the tutorial section featured at Umbrella. I like that the remake is going for the third-person over-the-shoulder format here like the previous remakes have used, as it greatly allows for more gameplay possibilities and is good for newcomers to Code Veronica, as newer players are less inclined to play the older Resident Evil games with tank controls and fixed camera angles. I have to say, I am a little skeptical with the player swapping between Claire and Steve, but who knows? If they truly go down this route, then I hope these features come to the rumored Resident Evil 0 remake featuring better swapping between Rebecca and Billy. Again, this is all speculation, and this 4chan post is just that, a 4chan post claiming to be a playtester that played the opening moments of yet again another Resident Evil remake. Let me know what you think about this supposed remake in the comments below. With that big leak out of the way, the next several rumors surrounding this potential game all come from none other than Resident Evil insider Dusk Golem. As always, remember your salt, fellas. But Dusk did mention shortly after the Code Veronica playtest leak that Capcom was working on 5 Resident Evil games, with Resident Evil 9 being one of those titles. It wasn't until May 2024 that Dusk finally revealed that remakes of Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil Code Veronica were in development, with the development team of the Code Veronica remake being Capcom Dev Team 1, the studio primarily responsible for the highly received Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4 remakes, which, if this is true, is fantastic news for this potential remake. And that's about everything we currently know about the Resident Evil Code Veronica remake from the series of leaks it has received. Now, even though the trail has essentially run dry for the Code Veronica remake for now, it's important to note, for those interested in leaks and rumors for the series, that in addition to the Code Veronica remake, that remakes of Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1 have been heavily rumored as well. Back in May 2024, Bio Declassified revealed some information about details pertaining to a remake of the very first Resident Evil game, essentially being described as an RE engine remake of the 2002 GameCube remake featuring over-the-shoulder gameplay. In addition to the RE1 Remake, I guess you'd call it, Resident Evil 0 Remake has been heavily touted by Dusk Golem to be releasing first, as this game, developed by both K2 and M2, of whom worked on the Separate Ways DLC for Resident Evil 4, is rumored to be releasing around the time of Resident Evil's 30th anniversary next year. Dusk earlier this year believed that the Resident Evil 0 Remake would be announced alongside the Switch 2, but of course, none of this happened during Nintendo's April 2nd Direct. With nothing announced since, all we gotta do is just wait and see if any of these rumors and leaks come true, but considering we haven't gotten a Resident Evil game in over 2 years, and with Resident Evil celebrating its 30th anniversary next year, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more than just Resident Evil 9 to release next year. Now, as far as the remakes are concerned, Capcom made it clear that there would be more remakes headed to the series, and with these past few remakes being among the best-selling games in the franchise's history, you can bet your money that we will see not only a Code Veronica remake, but remakes of Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 1, and more coming in the future. So let me know which remake you think will be released next. And that's all I have for you in this one, my friends. Catch me over here in this video as we go over my predictions as to what we are likely to see get announced ahead of next year's 30th anniversary. And I look forward to seeing you all real soon in the next video.